A Walk Down Snowy River, recorded on June 27, 2009. Released on DVD April 2011. The goal of our excursion to Snowy River was to perform a radio location at Mount Airy. But I had an additional agenda: to film one of the longest sections of Snowy River without a major crawlway. Beginning at survey marker SRS 173, this point of view video documents Snowy River to survey marker SRS 276. The walk is almost a mile and a half and visits the sites along the route that were explored in 2009. So experience walking on Snowy River, crossing magic carpets, and the occasional duck under on our quest to Mount Airy. Rain in epic proportions, and water surged through Snowy River once again in early August 2008, ending exploration for the season. Winter's end, their hibernation over, the bats awake, and so begins another expedition of the Fort Stanton Cave Study Project. A waterless Snowy River lies ahead for the first survey crew on April 25, 2009, as they depart to ascend Mount Airy in deep Snowy River south and discover what lies beyond its rock-strewn slopes. Reaching the crest, they found Bleeding Rock Pass, curious black and dark red cascades flowing out of bedding plains in the bedrock wall, unlike anything else found in Snowy River. Continuing on over Mount Airy, the crew discovered Snowy River meandering off into the distance on the upstream side of the breakdown with some conspicuous disparities. Mount Airy acted as a partial dam, accruing sediment, making the upstream side 10 feet higher. The formation lying on top of the sediment is thinner than average, making it prone to fracture when tread upon. And the mud banks are much higher and steeper, forcing the survey team to crawl under the low meanders rather than bypass with magic carpets. The fragile calcite coating, dubbed Eggshell Trail, persisted for 1,500 feet before it began to increase in thickness, finally equaling Snowy River to the north of Mount Airy. Accomplishing 2,190 feet of survey, the team embarked on the long journey to the surface. With the mystery of whether Snowy River continued or was blocked by Mount Airy resolved, a radio location mapping expedition was implemented on April 28, 2009 to verify the cave surveys for location accuracy and permit a survey loop correction to precise GPS surface coordinates. Unfortunately, a cold solder joint in the beacon allowed a signal of only 10% of full strength, and interference from lightning resulted in an unsuccessful attempt to detect the team at Mount Airy. June 27, 2009, the opening day of the July expedition. With the in-cave beacon repaired, a team embarked on a journey to Mount Airy to try again, as well as to capture the experience of a walk down Snowy River. Okay, this is the Underground Railroad, and we're at about 173. And we're walking down Snowy River South here. This part here I'm having to duck a little, so okay, we just passed 174. And we just passed 175. Yeah. This part's pretty slippery, so I might have to... I'm gonna terminate the Fort Stanton Caves, Snowy River Passage. Captured on video. Beginning at survey marker SRS 173. The camera recording all the way to SRS 276. A distance of almost a mile and a half. Okay, I picked up the video at 178. And we have some formations on the ceiling in this area. Floor is a little rough here, so... Of course, this must be 179. Okay, I just noticed that I had left the camera on manual focus. I had been testing some stuff out in the driveway, and I guess I never put it back on auto. So hopefully all that will turn out. Yeah, there was something on the lens. It's a spot of dirt. So between the manual focus and the spot of dirt, now we're getting into some big booming passage here. This is kind of rough, so it's probably the camera's going to bounce. And this is 183. We have a bridge, and I gotta... This might get a little squirrely here because having to try to duck.
Here at SRS 184, we have some interesting ripples in the mud bank.
Okay, I just passed that duck under. And this is one of those areas kind of hard to walk. Okay. This area seems to have an abundance of the mud stalagmites. There's an awful lot of mud in this area.
No manganese.
And no manganese, kind of different from the rest of Snowy River. What was that survey marker we just passed?
186.
One what?
86.
Oh, 186. I got another duck under. I'm going to have to stop the video here.
And here are vermiculations in the mud coating the wall at SRS 187.
Okay, I just went underneath that duck under. We're back See, last survey marker was 186. Oh, we just passed one, so that was probably 187. And this is 188 right here. Oh, and we have a magic carpet. We're going to fly the magic carpet. We're between 188 and 189. We've got gypsum stars. Got a lot of gypsum starbursts along with these mud stalagmites. I don't know how interesting this video really will be. Snowy River does tend to look the same over and over and over. Oops. I accidentally just hit the zoom. The wall here is pretty sparkly. I don't know if that'll show up. And we do have some formations in this area. Well, back to walking here. It is going to be a little wobbly here because I had to get down on my hands and knees because there's no way I could duck around that. I'm not sure what survey marker we're at yet. It was 190? 192. So we just passed SRS 192. And that one there probably was 193. And I take it that one's probably 194. And I think we just passed 195. kind of weird because I'm walking through Snowy River by watching a little 2-inch screen instead of where I'm actually walking. And what was that survey marker? Okay, that was 198. I kind of lost track there for a second. Okay, there's quite the overhang. I'm going to have to get down on my knees and crawl. So now we'll all see what it's like to crawl down the magic carpet.
High above SRS 200, where the wall transitions to ceiling, lays the location of the eccentric climb. Ascended on June 27, 2009, the team began by stretching plastic tarps over Snowy River to protect it from falling debris. Changing to dirty clothes, they crossed the mud bank and began to set bolts to aid the climb. Scaling the wall, James Hunter, belayed by Stan Allison, set bolts and free climbed 40 feet to a dome, which marked the termination of the lead. With the climb finished, James rappelled down, at which time Stan ascended the rope and surveyed the climb.
I haven't seen any survey markers here lately, so...
That's too much.
Oh, here's one right here.
202.
That's 202? Okay, that was SRS 202. Gee, next time I do this, I ought to bring my iPod and I could play some background music. Of course, that's what the video editor is for. That's an appropriate song for Snowy River. And we just passed 205.
Sometimes it's a little hard to hold the light in the right place. I have to actually look at my feet to see where I'm walking. Sometimes you get kind of close to the edge of the formation. I want to make sure I'm not stepping off of it.
I think about the sweet songs.
Think of all the Christmas songs.
Anyway, snow songs are Christmas songs. White wedding.
Yeah. I know we just passed a survey marker. It was SRS 209. This is going to be a little bumpy here. Well, that was a big step. Boy, now this would have been a bear without these magic carpets if you would have had to crawl underneath every single one of these. We just passed SRS 212. This looks like an area I might have to crawl. Okay, I just did the duck under. This survey marker right here is 213. Floor is a little rough, so having to walk kind of slow. This is at SRS 214. We've got some mud chunks that start on the bank and gradually work their way onto Snowy River, where they've gotten coated.
I fell once.
I'm at survey marker SRS 214. And this is a whole bunch of mud stalagmites. They're probably about between 7 and 8 feet up. Here's some of those mud stalagmites. Kind of a close-up.
14.
We just passed 214. I hear some voices up ahead. We might be getting close to meeting up with another team, probably the upper lead survey team. I think we just passed 215 back there. These are a bunch of natural flakes from the bank between 215 and 216. Ah yes, the famous 215. I remember 215 well from when I was back here surveying. Well, I tell you, my arms are getting a little tired holding this camera up and trying to hold it steady. It looks like we got a depression in the mud bank that fills with water when Snowy River is at maximum flow. You can see a channel that leads to Snowy River. What's kind of odd is the pool has a black bathtub ring around the upper edge, but no calcite formation. And we're up to where the upper lead survey team, that's Tim George. Of course, he's not on the survey team. And, oh, we're at 218. I'll pan over and we can take a look. Can you see them? I'm trying to pick my way through this.
Stop and you'll see them.
Okay.
They went over that thing. I don't even think they even need to put a belay on it, but just as a safety. That's all cross over.
Oh, that.
You see that rope? I mean,
Yeah.
they're walking right next to that wall. You see how much more space there is.
So
Okay.
where'd they climb up?
Well, they went up, this is the rope we put up last time to do that side. So they just went up that rope and did one bolt and put a belay and.
Prior to our arrival, the climbing team began by spreading tarps across Snowy River and launched their ascent utilizing the rope that was left behind on May 2nd, 2009. Roger Harris was the first to climb during the May expedition. Using ice axes and crampons, he set anchors in the mud as belay points and scaled the initial 10-foot mud slope, scrambled up a 10-foot rock cliff, and negotiated a 20-foot stretch of high-angle mud. Once at the top, Roger fixed a rope to 3 limestone pendants with webbing and Ron Lipinski and Tim George climbed the rope using ascenders. The passage at the top headed off in two directions. The northwest lead would require traversing a 30-degree slope, and due to a lack of equipment, the team decided to survey the southeastern lead. After 500 feet of survey, just beyond a heavily decorated passage called Fallen Arrows Corridor, named after the naturally broken stalactites littering the floor, the final station connected to the end of the Pretty Dirty Things passage, which continues on to the high lead at SRS 241. But the task on June 27, 2009, survey the Northwest Passage. James and Stan climbed up the rope first, placing bolts in the ceiling for a belay point and cutting steps in the clay. James negotiated across the high-angle clay slope. Once on the other side, he placed bolts for an anchor, and a rope was rigged for a traverse. Stan sent his harness down to John Lyles and Brian Kendrick, and they climbed up the rope. The team traversed across the 30-degree slope and began surveying the passage beyond. Due to the presence of some old flowstone and a few formations on the ceiling, the passage was named the Upper Crust. After 10 stations, the passage ended, filled with mud, with a funnel in the floor in which airflow could be felt emanating. De-rigging the traverse, the team headed to the lead at SRS 200. Okay, we had to clean our shoes off at 218, and that plastic had quite a bit of dirt that had fallen from above. So we just left 218 and we're traveling down Snowy River again. Okay, 219. Okay, I gotta stop and adjust my pack, so we're gonna warble around a little bit here. Okay. Yeah, the camera warbled. Oops, I gotta adjust the light. One of them was, I guess it must have knocked it out when I was cleaning my shoes off. There we go, light's better. Another shark's fin at SRS 221.
On station.
Okay. Oops, looks like I bumped the telephoto.
Let's cave in without the conversation.
Okay, I gotta do a duck under here, so little close to the edge. Couldn't we just passed SRS 223.
That means,
Sort of interesting here is the coloration of Snowy River. It's been stained by something.
are you cold?
No. Just trying to avoid flooding. Just trying to avoid flooding.
And we're at, must be SRS 225, as I remember from doing the survey. A lot of formations in this area.
Yeah, there's thingies on the ceiling.
Yeah. We first surveyed this area on July 1st, 2008. Coming around the last bend, we were just blown away. With all this survey in Snowy River, we had never encountered anything like this. What makes this area unique is the presence of dripstone formations. There's miles and miles of Snowy River, almost completely devoid of this kind of decoration. And then all of a sudden, we have a ceiling covered with stalactites and draperies. Most of the formations in other areas are generally small and sparse in number, but here some of the stalactites are up to 10 inches in length. Looks like at one time the sloping mud walls were covered with flowstone and stalagmites, until an ancient flood of water washed the mud from beneath the formations. But higher up near the ceiling, the stalagmites are still intact. But here on the lower slopes, after working its magic on the mud, the flood water eventually receded. With the flowstone high and dry, formation building began anew, as evidenced by the stalactite that grew in the cavity under the flowstone left by the flood episode. These peripheral ledges assume a variety of forms, such as this bridge-like structure and these knife blade ledges jutting into the cave. On the wall above, drapery flowstone, reminiscent of a school of stingrays, hover above a composite stalagmite stalactite. And here we have a leopard-spotted composite drapery stalactite stalagmite column. Yep, a whole bunch of really cool and beautiful stuff in this area.
Well, which one?
But it's time to start walking down Snowy River again.
Because one of us is near here.
Is that the one, John?
No, the one that's Stan and
Oh, it's coming up. It's coming up. Yeah, that's at 240, I think.
but you know what I mean? I wonder if
The floor is a little uneven. Sometimes it's really hard to walk, and this isn't quite as flat as Snowy River North. Okay, I'm kind of bent over to avoid the sides, but it got kind of squirrely. Here between SRS 227 and 228, a small lead was discovered July 1st, 2008 during the survey. While James and Stan prepared the upper crust climb at 218, John Lyles used a couple of bridges to scout the lead. Unfortunately, it ended immediately. To the south lie large ripples in the mud bank, and across Snowy River is a fine display of Rillencairn on the west wall.
You'll be able to make a wee game of this now. Tilt your head the way you want to crawls.
Somehow I keep bumping the telephoto.
228.
Okay, we're at 228, just past that survey marker. And I'm not sure which one.
230.
That's 230.
Actually, 410.
And here's the formations that I've used on the cover of my DVD. This is the manganese, pretty much completely coats the wall right in between 232 and 233. I'm walking a little bit faster than I would really like to, but we have a lot of ground to cover. We still need to set up the antenna and do the radio location here. That looked like 233.
69 more stations to go.
17 right.
Gypsum crystals at 233. some of the stuff a little bouncy. I was having a look at my feet. Okay, I just did a little duck under. Ooh, that was a hard one to get by. I'm not sure what that marker was. Okay, that marker was 237.
237.
Well, sometimes I can see them if they're tilted just at the right angle as I walk by.
At 2:38, a small channel pirates water from Snowy River and fills a pool with a dark bathtub ring around its upper perimeter. I'm gonna pause here. There's a high water mark on the east wall I photographed in July of 2008. Looks like the water flow eroded the mud, exposing the rock underneath. At the foot of the wall, there's a bunch of gravel embedded in the mud bank. And on Snowy River, within the small amber-stained channel, lies small mud balls, some of which are starting to develop a calcite coating. And that was probably about what, about 39.
That's 63 more to go. Well, it was. It's a nice number. It has much better images to it.
Now we're coming up to the lead at 242? Or is it 244?
I don't see one yet. It's up there.
Is this where Pretty Group?
241.
We're at 241. Okay, I put both my lights, spotlights, see if we can light that up there.
The high lead at SRS 241, surveyed on April 25th, 2008. The crew began by shifting to dirty mode and commenced the climb up the slope.
the floor of which was composed of mud clay clasts that were coated with calcite and gypsum. Reaching the summit, they found a passage heading off in a northeastern direction. As they surveyed down passage, the team began to find drip points with flowstone beneath. Pushing on, the flowstone became more complex and colorful. Stalactites began to appear on the ceiling. The flowstone beneath became more extensive, and cave velvet covered the dripstone formations. Delving deeper, they passed a small rimstone pool, an odd petal-shaped velvet flowstone formation, drip holes in the mud, and curtains on the ceiling. They named the passage Pretty Dirty Things to illustrate the muddy floor and beautiful decorations that continued to increase as the team explored on. But ultimately, the team ran out of time before they ran out of passage, ending the survey in a corridor with fallen stalactites, many of which were embedded upright in the clay floor. Before turning to depart, they gazed towards the unexplored passage, which would eventually be connected to by means of Fallen Arrow's corridor later in the expedition. But it's not only Pretty Dirty Things passage that makes this area unique. With a ceiling height of 35 feet, airflow can still be felt blowing down Snowy River with enough force to move the flagging tape, as captured on July 1st, 2008. Okay, so I'm walking down the trail here just past that big lead at 241. Now, this is all part of Bab's borehole right here. And up here is Buenos Aires. And I probably won't be able to film any of that. I might climb down in there and then turn the camera on. Here on the left, the rock displays another fine example of Rillen Cairn. Okay, this is Buenos Aires. Okay, this is inside of Buenos Aires. That's looking back to the entrance. Okay, I just crawled out of Buenos Aires. I'll walk down a ways. It tends to get a lot rougher in this area, so I don't know how much more I'll be able to videotape. It is getting kind of late. It's about 20 after 4. And we need to get to Mount Airy's and get the radio set up. Okay, we just passed SRS 250. And it looks like it's going to get a little hairy from here. Okay, I'm going to have to put the camera away. Okay, I'm through that one kind of low spot there. Had to crawl a bit. And I haven't seen any survey markers. Here's one coming up. I'll just pause a second, read it. 254. And we just passed 255. And we just passed 257. A little rough here, so I imagine the camera's gonna bounce a little bit.
I'm not sure if this is the route, but we'll find out. Yep, there's a survey marker. A little narrow here. A little uneven too. And let's see, that's 259 we're passing right now. Well, that's a narrow little magic carpet there.
Here, by SRS 260, Rill and Cairn and small stalagmites rest upon a ledge above Snowy River.
Okay, we're at 261. Wish I could light the ceiling up. It's a very, very large passage in here. This is probably the area with the at least 50-foot ceilings. And this is 263. It looks like it's going to get a little rough after this. And I'm going to have to terminate the video right here. Okay, I got past that spot. Don't know quite what survey marker. Oh, here's one right here. 266.
Small calcite deposits resembling little buttons and tiny flowers formed on the wall in this area of Snowy River South.
So we just passed 266.
And this would be 267. And we're passing by 270. Kind of an uneven spot. $274. Lost my partner, so I'm having to try to read these by myself. And I do believe this is where I'll have to start climbing, so I'll probably end up having to stop taping here. Well, maybe not. Do have to duck, so it's gonna be a little strange.
Gazing in the direction of SRS 277, time had finally run out. I was carrying gear essential to performing the radio location, so I terminated the video, stowed the camera here in my pack, and headed for Mount Airy. Traveling down Snowy River, I passed a succession of high leads up breakdown until I reached SRS 281, where on April 30th, 2009, a team consisting of John Lyles, Roger Harris, Tim George, and Dennis Worthington climbed up the breakdown. Reaching the top, they were amazed to discover a large collapsed dome. Its flat ceiling had shed large slabs of rock, completely covering the floor of the chamber, later described by the team as resembling a buckled highway after an earthquake. Carefully surveying across the unstable breakdown, Slab Dome was found to reconnect to Snowy River at SRS 274. After further exploration, no airflow or additional passage was found, so the team finished the survey and headed out. After negotiating a short distance further south, I passed by Liberty Falls. About halfway around the next bend in Snowy River, I found myself at the site of the high lead climb at SRS 286.
With Stan Allison taking survey notes, John Broholm and Janae Hunderman held up a painter's tarp to protect Snowy River, while Roger Harris performed photo documentation. James Hunter began to climb and was able to make it part way up before having to place a bolt. After rigging the last pitch, James climbed up and peered over the top, only to find that the lead ended after only 20 feet and the prominent flowstone cascade came out of a small crack in the back wall. James prepared to descend. 6 foot of webbing was wrapped around a natural anchor, connected with a stainless steel quick link, and a rope was threaded through it. James rappelled down the wall, finally reaching Snowy River. The climb was de-rigged and the tarps cleaned up. With the mystery of the high lead solved, the team headed to SRS 241 to begin exploration of that area. Hurrying to meet the 5 o'clock deadline, I reached SRS 288, where another breakdown blocked the way on. The rocks comprising the breakdown were washed clean of mud, so I was able to scramble over them without a clothing change. But soon I was forced to duck between the boulders and begin a difficult crawl down a V-shaped channel covered in Snowy River formation. Finally, at SRS 298, I was able to walk again and quickly met up with Janice and Tim at SRS 302, located at the foot of Mount Airy. We finished setting up the radio location and voice radio equipment and turned them on just in time for the 5 o'clock deadline. Our attempts to contact the surface were unsuccessful, but nevertheless, we let the radio location beacon go for 3 hours. At 8 o'clock, we packed up and began the trip to the surface. At SRS 299, we encountered the foot of the ramp that leads to the Rust Belt Amphitheater, surveyed by the same crew that explored Slab Dome. On April 30th, 2009, they climbed the ramp and discovered a large room floored in breakdown, with a rusty-looking horizontal band on the right wall. Rust Belt Amphitheater is orientated north-south, parallel to Snowy River, with the floor rising up at the north end, which terminated in large breakdown. There was one 2x2 foot hole in the breakdown with airflow that appeared to be dropping down to Snowy River, but it wasn't pushed due to the exposure and loose material. While surveying the 150 foot long, 70 foot wide, and 30 foot tall room, they found some dripstone formations on the wall and velvet covered breakdown blocks. When the team finished surveying what turned out to be the second largest room in Fort Stanton Cave, they headed for SRS 281, the lead that contained the slab dome. But along the way at SRS 288, Roger climbed up along the wall to a small lead where he could see breakdown above. It was later determined that this was the same lead as seen in Rust Belt Amphitheater. Pushing on, we continued our pursuit of the surface, pausing along the way to visit with the SRS 200 climbing team. We passed through the Underground Railroad, the ceiling elevation shrinking as we headed north until the passage developed into a crawlway. At one of the rare spots we could actually stand between SRS 157 and SRS 156, we encountered a low crawl high up on the mud bank at the edge of Snowy River. Designated the SRG survey, exploration was accomplished on May 2nd, 2009, when Jennifer Foote, John Lyles, and Alan Wright squeezed into the tight lead. After 15 feet, the passage transformed into a walking passage. The team surveyed 137 feet before finding the end, a low crawl with faint airflow that would require digging to continue on. But our crawl was not at an end. With hundreds of feet left, we set out for the terminus. Finally reaching the turnoff to return to Snowy River Room at SRS 147, Snowy River continued on as a water bypass conduit. In preparation to slither through the mud lizard crawl, we changed into dirty clothes. At the same time, a team consisting of Donald Davis, Henry Schneider, and David Hunter were still actively surveying the bypass conduit. They began earlier in the day by investigating 2 holes in the breakdown within the return to Snowy River Room, which were found to connect to the conduit below. Then, changing to clean mode, they began surveying north from SRS 147. For the first few shots, the crawlway was fairly spacious, but soon the ceiling dipped below the Snowy River level, and the entire passage began to be lined with Snowy River formation, which made surveying difficult. After climbing down a 4-foot pit, Henry was able to penetrate another 20 feet around a bend where the passage split in two. Both directions were tight, so after sighting on an unmarked station, the survey was concluded, and after a clothing change, the team headed out of the cave a couple of hours behind us. At the foot of the 2-way hill breakdown, we scrambled around boulders under which John Lyles, Paul Dunlap, David Hunter, and Joe Kobe discovered a low, muddy passage, designated the SRK survey on July 4th, 2009. After a few stations, they emerged into a black and white chamber. Examining the chamber with UV light, the calcite coatings fluoresced strongly with a green afterglow. Evoking the aura of blacklight posters of the 1960s, they named the chamber Psychedelia. Further on, the passage dimensions expanded, and a southwest heading lead was discovered on the right wall at SRK 16. But the out time had arrived, and the survey would have to wait for another day. That day came on September 26, 2009. A new crew consisting of Brian Kendrick, John Lyles, Jenny McDonough, and Laura Rosales Lagarde picked up the survey. Bypassing the lead, they continued down the main southern trend. After a few shots, a massive breakdown rock blocked the passage like the bow of a ship and was named Shiprock. Climbing over boulders and through a narrow slot, the team was forced into a low lead with basins filled with sticky mud and pebbles, and mud splashes on a tilted block. Then, climbing another breakdown collapse, they emerged in a large chamber named Galleria Cumpleaños. But at its southern end, it pinched off in a deep funnel of mud and sand known to cave diggers as a sand boil. A significant 6 by 6 foot lead was discovered in the wall of the room heading to the northwest. However, it was now midnight and they began to head out of the cave. September 30th, 2009, John Lyles, Donald Davis, Pat Sicer, and Roger Harris were back to survey the Northwest Lead. As they surveyed the passage, it became apparent the floor had extensive deposits of clean sand and small gravel, with flow marks that indicated a water flow from south to north. In some places, the walls had starburst gypsum deposits, and fossilized remains of crinoids, shells, and gastropods were found. After 333 feet, the survey ended when the passage connected to the southwest lead at SRK 16 that was noted on the first survey trip. The obvious name for the new passage was Sandy River. Following the change to clean clothes at Snowy Springs, we rolled through the crawl from hell and walked the final distance to Turtle Junction, where we performed the final change to dirty mode and made our way to the entrance, tired from a long day beneath the surface of the earth, but energized by our walk down Snowy River.